What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Tonight we have a flat earther that is responding to I believe he's like a science communicator for Scientific American, the online magazine, actual magazine, whatever.
It's a good magazine.
It's a good magazine. George Musser, huh?
Hi y'all.
Oh, hi, honey.
I sort of forgot at first that I was over here mic'd.
But yes, so we have Flat Earther response to George Musser tonight. If you don't know, Fight the Flat Earth actually had a conversation with George Musser about his 2 articles that Sleeping Warrior has been using. Now, that was released this week, of course, because it's Sleeping Warrior week. And the Flurfers are on it about responding to this particular interview. And tonight it's going to go exceptionally well. I can only guarantee the best types of logic, and there's definitely no 5-year-old name calling involved. That can't be a thing. They have to respond intelligently, as we all know. So we have that, but we also have Today I Learned, as well as Out of Context Comics and Shitty Ass Science. So, are you guys ready to get into the show? I know I'm ready. Honey, you ready?
I'm ready.
KC's ready, so I guess we're ready to go. Alright, now we have the response video. So this was on Nathan Oakley 1980s channel. Now, I have vowed to never respond to Nathan Oakley in general, or even be on his debate show, because of the fact that he acts like a petulant fucking 5-year-old child. He does it all the time. I will not dignify that kind of behavior with my presence. Not that I think that my presence is oh so great. I just mean I have more respect for myself than to put myself in that position. So this isn't Nathan Oakley that is Nathan Oakley that's talking. Nathan does come in at the end, but just like he's not there. But this guy that's talking has a critique of George Musser. And I'm going to be defending George Musser on this one, obviously, because George is a pretty awesome science communicator. And I don't have his articles linked down below. I really, really fucking should. But I'll try to get those in after the stream posts. But anyways, let's see what this guy has to say. Now, remember, only intelligent responses that are going to be coming from him.
I was up late last night, and because we had another bad storm front come through, it looks like we can't get rid of these guys. We got another one this afternoon, man. So I didn't have anything to do, and I was in a message thread. I think it might have been on one of Anthony's videos, and somebody said the George Musser video is posted. So I said, yeehaw. So I went over there and I start listening to it. Now listen, I think George Musser, he's an amiable chap. There's no doubt about it. I kind of like him. But his scientific literacy is hovering just below 2nd grade.
All right, I wanted to stop it right there real quick because live on air. Let's see, George Musser. Let's look up his credentials real quick because he's got let's see, he's a contributing editor for Scientific American magazine. He's also the author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to String Theory and Spooky Action at a Distance. He did his undergraduate studies in electrical engineering and mathematics at Brown University and his graduate studies in planetary science at Cornell. Let's see, where he was a National Science Foundation graduate fellow. His thesis was modeled mantle convection on Venus. That's going to get brought up later. So, this guy isn't just... he's not just a random fucking person that doesn't understand science. He has actual credentials in the field of science. That itself doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about, but if you've read his articles or seen any articles that he's written, you would know that he knows what he's talking about. So, for this guy to characterize him as having a 2nd grade, less than a 2nd grade level understanding of science is just fucking ridiculous and is a perfect example of Dunning-Kruger to the max. Because this is a person that At the end of this, he will claim to have no scientific background, or at least say that that you don't have to have any kind of scientific background whatsoever to be able to dispute what Musser is talking about in the interview. So it's just really astonishing to me that somebody with this little intelligence, like on a particular subject, would be this way. But that's how Dunning-Kruger works. We got a super chat from Demonic Davros. George is a damn scientific genius. And then Demonic also said, here are some shekels for shill money. I really appreciate that, man. It's been a rough day, so I appreciate all of that. All right, let's get back to the video.
And I knew this was going to happen because if he undertook, even if as soon as he said a word regarding this subject, he was through. His foot was going to go in his mouth. So I just, got the popcorn and just sat back and listened to it. So let me go through some of the things I picked out. I didn't pick everything out. All right. There wasn't enough time. I just picked the elephants in the room out. There might be some more elephants. I left the whole Eratosthenes experiment between these doofuses alone because that speaks for itself.
Okay, so what he's talking about here is that George Musser and Fight the Flat Earth have an experiment going on where they are going to be redoing the Eratosthenes experiment, calculating the circumference of the Earth. And basically, they're asking people from all over the globe to take readings on a certain day, and they still needed a few people to do some readings at certain positions on the Earth. And so that's pretty much what he's talking about. Yeah, of course, they like to say that doesn't prove anything and that it works on a flat Earth, but when you're talking about multiple data points, it just simply doesn't work.
So let's go over some of these. George Musser. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. So what the fuck, dude? So an amoeba is a chartreuse windsock. So an amoeba isn't a chartreuse windsock, but we can think of it as a chartreuse windsock. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. So right there, in fact, I posted this message onto Craig's underneath Craig's video, and he pinned it. I just stopped there, and then I went on and conducted my business. I figured that's all I needed. I mean, because this is ridiculous. We could essentially stop right here.
But he doesn't, of course. He doesn't stop right. He goes through the entire thing, and I don't know if he's talking about he's posted this entire comment on Fight the Flat Earth's video, but he makes it kind of seem like he just stopped right here at this particular part. What I want to go back to, though, is the false equivalence fallacy that he threw out here. It's a false equivalence to compare, saying that an amoeba is a whatever chartreuse, whatever the fuck he was talking about. Like, it's not that, but we can think of it as that. See, the difference here is that you're comparing, like, you're saying that this amoeba is something completely different. Whereas it's very nuanced with gravity as to whether it's a force. Now, is it a, classical force as we know or whatnot, just a straight up force? I would say yes, but it's nuanced because it's an apparent force, like centrifugal force or something like that. These are often called fictitious forces, but he doesn't actually address that particular thing here. Apparent forces, they are forces, they're just different than, as we know other forces to be. So, basically, this guy just shits on the idea of distinguishing between different types of forces that exist in reality. And he's trying to compare it to something that it just simply can't be compared to.
However, I didn't. So the next one, George Musser. It looks at a progression of scientific ideas. And I said, what in the world? What is a scientific idea? How do they differ from just plain old everyday ideas, such as you're a double-speaking, fork-tongued pretender clown idea? How about that?
Okay, well, he has obviously gone the route of a 5-year-old fucking child. Because that particular quote unquote idea is something that you would expect to hear out of like a 5-year-old kid when he's talking about somebody that he doesn't like. So I don't know why you got to get all childish about it, but then again, this is Nathan Oakley's channel, and he is pretty much the king of all the children of the Flat Earth group. But to distinguish a scientific idea from whatever the fuck he said, scientific ideas would be ideas about like how the world works or how things work in reality. They would be ideas that concern something that science would be used to explain or handle. So that would be the difference there. And again, this guy just isn't getting the nuance of like what distinguishes different types of the same thing.
How does the scientific...
Hold on, before we get to that, did get a couple more super chats. We got Robert Laguerre, who says, "Good on you this morning. Take my money." Thank you. Brenda Rua says, "Keep kicking butt." Thank you so much, Brenda and Robert. I really appreciate you guys so much.
idea different from that idea? The next one, George Musser. Even Newton and his contemporaries had a real problem with that law, namely that it described gravity's effects, but it really described how gravity works. And Newton actually in his own life tried to develop, unsuccessfully as it turns out, an understanding of how gravity works. What in the world? Number one, laws describe the whats and the ises. They never explain. Scientific theories explain the hows and the whys. And
Well, so to clarify a little bit here, scientific laws are mathematical descriptions of things that we experience in reality. So I'm not exactly sure what he means by the what and the is. I'm guessing like what is the force acting on this particular object or whatnot. We could use scientific laws to answer those kind of questions, I guess is what he's getting at. But scientific theories are built off of facts, and they are used to explain things, explain why gravity is a thing or what causes gravity. So just to actually put some information in here that's actually a little scientific.
in his rhetoric, he said, describe the how. Well, professor, descriptions only deal with the whats and ises. Explanations only deal with the hows and whys. Never the twain shall meet. So he's got a problem, not only with the science here, but what descriptions and explanations mean. We're back to that. I mean, I learned this, third, fourth grade at worst?
So basically it's a semantical argument that he's got here, which semantics never is not a good argument whatsoever. He's complaining about how he worded his answer, and that's just a weak thing for you to even bring up. Like I guess I can understand the other things being brought up, but this one right here, I don't know, it just seems really fucking weird if you ask me. I get that you don't understand what George Musser's talking about, and you can't really understand what he's trying to tell you, but I mean, that's on you, not on him. We have a couple of super chats to get to, and Chrismer used the ASCII fail well when you could easily use the emoji fail well.
But the ASCII one is big too.
Yeah, the ASCII one is much bigger. I wish I could make it as big as Chrismer's fail well, but I can't. We got Fletcher Eisler saying, Dunning, meet Kruger. Idiots. I get it. Yeah, that's actually really good. And then we got Robert Laguerre, soft G. Laguerre. Okay, Laguerre. Sorry.
I saw he mentioned it earlier, and I was gonna say something like when you got a break.
Yeah, I hated that you had to spend $2 to tell me how to pronounce your name. Sorry, man.
He said it's all good, comedic effect. Laguerre.
All right, let's see what else he's got.
George Musser, the next one. Einstein's role was to fill in that mechanism. Well, what in the world? Professor, scientific theories never, ever, ever attempt to mechanize laws. If they did, they wouldn't be friggin' laws anymore. For fuck's sake.
For fuck's sake.
Well, okay, so basically the Newtonian idea, like Newton's law of gravitation, is a mathematical description of how gravity operates. But as he stated in this very video, Newton tried to explain the why of gravity, like why does gravity happen or what causes gravity to occur. Newton tried and he couldn't do it. So Einstein comes in and he explains the why of it, explaining how the warping of space-time creates this effect that we know as gravity. And so that's what George Musser was saying, but for some reason, this guy right here thinks that George is saying that Einstein mechanizes the law of gravity, which I mean the special sorry the theory of general relativity. I mean, I'm sure that it uses laws. Like, I mean, I haven't obviously read the actual paper or anything like that, but it would use laws and facts and everything like that to support itself. But its main function is to explain the why of everything that happens, like how everything happens. But I mean, it would still use like laws. Like, for instance, general relativity has the field equations, which you can actually resolve those field equations down into this Newtonian sense of gravity, which all that does is show you that Einstein built off of Newton's ideas of gravitation and expanded them and made them applicable across different reference frames and stuff. While Newton, his works on small scales instead of like interplanetary or the larger universe kind of scale. So I'm not exactly sure why he thinks that this is wrong, but it just seems like he's throwing out big words in order to sound intellectual or something. I don't know.
Watch. Post the mechanism for entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. By the way, you'd fail 5th grade general science and 2nd grade mathematics. The next one.
I like how he is now the determining factor as to whether or not you would fail those particular things. As far as I remember in those particular classes, you didn't exactly fail because maybe you missed one question or something. But in any case, they wouldn't fail science or anything like that in 5th or in 2nd grade mathematics. Which I don't even know how 2nd grade math even factors the fuck in. We got another super chat from Chris Kelling. I would like a Cobb word salad, please. Gotta put some ranch on that shit, right?
George Musser. The thing is about Newton's law, you can't take it literally. What? So we can't take equations literally anymore, Georgie. Thanks. Priceless.
Well, no, basically what George was saying is that you can't take Newtonian's law of gravitation in the literal sense of that's all gravity is. And you can't take them literally because it's an incomplete picture. That's what he's talking about. And also the fact that gravity is an apparent force instead of one of these other more, I guess, classical ideas of what a force is, like the nuclear force or the weak force or those other things. So I mean, I don't know. This guy just seems like he's using every opportunity to twist whatever's being said to make it seem like they're being ridiculous, but they're really not. It's pretty standard for flurfers, though, right? Right, honey?
Right.
The next one, George Musser. This is used routinely by NASA. He's talking about Newton's law. Is used routinely by NASA to do its missions. By just all of us, whenever we act, we understand the formations of planets and so forth. I mean, what in the world? please show how you use the now debunked Newton's law in the formations of planets. Please couch your horse shit debunk law explanation, laughing out loud.
You know, I get that whenever I read comments or whatnot, I throw in the lol and everything like that because that's how it appears on the page. But this guy, instead of just laughing, he actually says laughing out loud. I'm guessing he's reading a comment or something like that, but still, I feel like if it's you that made the comment and you have lol there, you should just laugh and not like actually say the expression of laughing out loud. Like that kind of defeats the purpose. Like, aha, laughing out loud. It's like, what? It just seems weird to me. I don't know. That's probably pedantic on my part.
You have
Oh,
telling.
oh yeah, I know. I already read it.
Oh, you did. Oh, my bad.
um. So what he's asking about here is how does the Newton's law of gravitation factor into the formation of planets? This would go into how you can reduce the field equations down into Newton's law of gravitation, and you can be able to express you could be able to figure out the force of gravity using those equations pared down to Newton's law of gravitation. So, on those particular scales, like planetary scales, Newton's laws of gravity work. They're fine. It's when you go outside of that reference frame and include a whole lot of other complicated things that you have to use, like general relativity. Or, well, I guess that's a little bit too vague, maybe. See, with the laws of general relativity, it talks about speeds that are going like, speed of light, near speed of light, and factoring those things in. So, I mean, that's what I mean by outside that particular reference frame. The reference frame there is just normal operating environment that we're used to.
In the context of Boyle's gas law, the second law of thermodynamics, and Jean's mass force. The next one, this is one of my favorites, and I think I put some time hacks in here for you. So we got George Musser at 840. Einstein came along and said, what could cause this force or apparent force? And Craig at 1144 said, we still don't fully know the complete cause of gravity. George Musser's response, oh no, not at all. What in the world? Real, actual scientific theories identify the cause. That's their primary mission in life. Priceless. You two bozos are abject fuckwits.
He's so yelly.
Yeah, he really is yelly. But I really don't think that this guy understands what a scientific theory is, because general relativity, its main function isn't to fully and completely describe gravity. So he's playing sort of an equivocation game here because he's using the theory of general relativity, but he's using the theory of general relativity incorrectly to say that it is supposed to completely and fully explain gravity. Do we know ultimately what causes gravity or anything like that? No. We don't know what causes space-time to express gravity like that. We don't know that ultimate cause. But what the scientific theory actually does is allows us to understand its the effects and the why that it happens. So they're not meant to directly point out every single specific cause.
By the way, you'd both fail 5th grade general science. And P.S. Since you two bozos just admitted there is no cause for fairy tale gravity, then ipso facto, there is no scientific theory of gravity.
I love that part.
But there are scientific theories about gravity. There's scientific theories on gravitation. Gravitation is included in general relativity. So I mean, what he said right there is just wrong. It's also very, very wrong to say that they would fail fifth grade science. I don't know why he thinks that he has like a teaching degree now, because all of a sudden he's got like an astrophysics degree, a general physics degree, and now a teaching degree. Not just a teaching degree though, like an elementary school teaching degree. So it just amazes me how this one person that has none of these things thinks that he has these things and can dictate like who is wrong and who is right in this area, and not actually explain why they're wrong about anything.
Just that simple. And apparent force. So a not real force, is a not real force a force? Is a not real donkey a donkey?
I just hold on. If you have a model donkey that is not a real donkey, that is not living or anything like that, it is still a donkey. It's just not a real one. So yes, a force, even if it's not actually like a force as we used to know it, it's an apparent force, it is still a force. Like, I don't even fucking understand, like, why you said that ridiculous statement of, like, the donkeys and shit. I just don't get it. Anyways, Demonic Davros again says scientific theory is a statement of facts. True story. It is. It's a statement of facts used to explain things. And he's just not getting that.
Is it because he's a jackass?
It's because he's a fucking idiot.
Ding! Well, I was going for the real donkey.
Real donkey?
He's a real jackass?
He's a real jackass. Yes, he is.
Goodness gracious. The next one, George Musser. You can derive the Newtonian force law from the Einsteinian field equations of general relativity. What in the world? Really? Go ahead and derive a force of a debunk law from a non-force, non-scientific theory.
I don't even know what the fuck he's complaining about here. The Einstein field equations are mathematical equations to explain, mathematically these different things. And the fact that you can use those field equations and plug in very specific values, and you compare it down to Newtonian's law of gravitation, that says that is the starting place, and then an expanded version are the field equations. So I don't understand why he thinks that you can't, like, I don't understand why he doesn't think that you can reduce an equation, a larger equation, down to a smaller equation. That would be a good question for this dipshit, is why can you not reduce, a larger equation down to a smaller one? We got a new member, Orpheus. Orpheus. Okay, it's Orpheus. I'm a dipshit.
Ding.
Dang. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate that.
And please, can you make achromatic rainbow soup sandwiches too? We're going to be interested in that.
Oh my God, why does he have to turn into a 5-year-old child about every goddamn question?
Craig, he basically says, he's talking about Anthony. He basically says that Newtonian gravity and Einsteinian gravity are mutually exclusive. George Musser, that's certainly wrong. Einstein would have never said that. What in the world? No, he surely wouldn't have, because he was a doofus. I said that. More importantly, I can easily show it. Number one, Newton's is allegedly a law that's debunked. Einstein's is allegedly a scientific theory. That's well, you can't debunk a non-existent scientific theory anyway. So,
well, no, I mean, okay. So for one thing, what Musser was saying there, or Musser, whatever, is saying there, is that Einstein would not have considered his general theory of general relativity to be mutually exclusive from Newton's ideas. because he used Newton's ideas and built off of them and expanded our knowledge about reality and encapsulated it in his theory of general relativity. So no, he wouldn't have said that. He wouldn't have agreed that that they are mutually exclusive. That's all that he said. Now, he went on to point one, and I can't remember exactly what his point one was.
And gravity are mutually exclusive. George Musser, that's certainly wrong. Einstein would have never said that. What in the world? No, he surely wouldn't have, because he was a doofus. I said that. More
Yes, you said that because you don't fucking understand the scientific
importantly,
theories.
I can easily show it. Number one, Newton's is allegedly a law. That's debunked. Einstein's is allegedly a scientific theory. That's well, you can't debunk a non-existent scientific theory anyway. So,
oh yeah, that's right. He said that they're debunked. They're not debunked, but he's not even wrong in this because it's just it's a weird kind of state where you're just saying something that just doesn't make sense. Newtonian gravity has been proven to actually work on the scales that we're talking about here, but when you're talking about light speed or the speed of light, general relativity comes into play. Also, like large bodies and everything like that. So that's what we're talking about here. These two different things, and the theory of general relativity has yet to be broken, so it holds true until we can formulate a new scientific theory that breaks it, like Einstein broke Newton's ideas. He expanded upon Newton's ideas and just replaced our existing knowledge with more knowledge. It's still there. It's still applicable. It hasn't been debunked.
Number two, Newtonian gravity is a force. Einsteinian gravity is not a force. Number three, they're not even in the same geometry, for crying out loud. Newtonian gravity is Euclidean 3 space, whereas Einsteinian gravity is Pseudo-Riemannian 4 space.
Okay, so he's using big words here in order to sound smart. Basically, he's saying that Newtonian gravity doesn't take space-time into consideration, or the melding of space-time, whereas general relativity does take space-time into consideration. Those are the two things. Newton didn't know about space-time. He did have an inkling of something, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit, but the fact that he thinks that they are two separate things and not one thing built off of another is just astonishing. Chris Kelling and I say you are an idiot. Chris Kelling, May 2018. Way in the past? You said that last year, man? That's pretty cool. I mean, you probably did. I mean, this shit's been going on for a while.
Number four, Newtonian gravity, the law of superposition holds. Einsteinian gravity, the law of superposition doesn't hold.
I don't know what he means right here by superposition, because I looked it up. The law of superposition is a geology thing. The law of superposition means that layers are laid on top of each other, and you'll never find a younger layer below a older layer. That's the law of superposition. And so, I mean, I don't know how that factors in here, but I'm wondering if he's talking about the superposition principle in physics. In physics, superposition, it works like this. Let's say you have two input signals, right, that are of some kind of frequency. If you add those signals together, then you're effectively adding the output, like you're adding the frequencies together, so the output's going to be bigger. That's superposition. I don't know how the general relativity, Newtonian gravity works in that. So I don't know what he means by superposition here. He's just talking nonsense.
Number five, Newtonian gravity speaks to instantaneous actions at a distance. Einsteinian gravity is limited to the speed of light.
Wait a second. It's limited to the speed of light? I mean, it. Well, I guess technically it is limited by the speed of light, but I mean, that's because everything's limited by the speed of light. You can't go faster than the speed of light as far as we can figure out right now. It doesn't mean that it can never be possible. Is it not?
Sorry.
So I don't know why like he thinks that Newtonian gravity exceeds the speed of light. See, Newtonian law of gravitation just explains, the effects of gravity mathematically so that you can figure it out. It doesn't explain like how it works or why it works. It just explains the effects of it. And then general relativity comes in and it explains how matter warps space-time. And so it works seemingly instantaneously because it's warped the fabric of space-time. I don't know why you think that this is like faster than the speed of light.
Married and bachelors have more in common than the debunked Newtonian and Einstein's fairy tales.
No, that is not a sentence that actually makes sense.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Yeah, that was a great read when I first woke up this morning.
Okay, so yeah, that's all of his criticisms of it. There's a little bit here where he goes into some shit.
Just you don't need rocket science here. Just launchpad security just to listen to him. This is a joke.
You don't need rocket science in order to understand basic physics and everything like that. I mean, you get taught this kind of shit in your basic physics courses in college. I mean, if he actually had college, he would know this. I don't know if he's had college, but there's a good chance that he hasn't.
Apparently he described it as being magic quite a few times.
He did. I kind of rolled past that one because he also said magic in the citation that I gave to Anthony. I've been using that for years.
I like he's been using it for years. It's only been up for 2 years. Like there was one written in 2016, and then there was one written last year that they used. So I don't understand what he means by like I guess 2 years would be years, but he acts like it's been such a long time. But anyways, so yes, the whole magic thing in Newtonian gravity, you don't know why gravity happens or anything like that, so it seems magical. And all Musser was saying is that it appears to be magical, but Einstein actually revealed the magic behind it, so it's no longer magical. And that's all he was saying.
When he says he snapped the wand in two, where does he say magic? Oh, not a magical force, right?
Listen, I told you this before, and I'm starting to go down a road that I shouldn't have. This is not Newtonian gravity. Newton himself said not to ascribe it to him. So I'm sorry that I did it through this whole presentation. I was just quoting.
Okay, so what he's saying right here is that Newton says don't ascribe this notion of gravity to me. But if you actually read what Newton actually wrote, what Newton's talking about is the whole idea that gravity is an innate thing that just happens magically. That's all Newton was saying. It's like, that's not my idea, because Newton's idea is that there had to be some kind of agent or something like that was causing gravity to happen. Newton had, because of how the scientific theory works and how science and scientific thinking works, Newton could predict that, that there was something that needed to be there in order to cause gravity to happen or for gravity to move through or something like that. He didn't know space-time existed at the time. That's where Einstein comes in a couple hundred years later. But the fact that Newton could see the issue with his whole idea, and then later on down the line we were able to figure it out. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it?
What he had said during the presentation, there is no Newtonian gravity.
There is Newtonian gravity. Newtonian gravity is not the full picture, but there is Newtonian gravity.
John Mitchell / Cavendish.
Calculated G. Never.
Okay, so what he's talking about here, he at this point he's let me backtrack a little bit.
Well, let's preface that by let's add to that by saying It's Reverend John Mitchell / Cavendish gravity.
And it's not even them, because Cavendish never calculated G. Never. This G showed up 207 years after Newton died.
Okay, so that's not entirely accurate, I guess. Like, he's going to talk about C.V. Boy, I believe is the guy's name. He's the one that actually first measured the G constant, and then Cavendish also later measured it with his experiment. That's what he's talking about here. He thinks that these guys invented the gravitational constant or whatever, and I'm not exactly sure if Newton figured out like mathematically or whatnot. I'm sure somebody can correct me in there, but the point of the fact is that he's talking about these two guys, Boy and Cavendish, and they just measured the G constant. Like, they were able to actually measure it in reality. And those were the first two that were able to do that.
So, and it was by C.V. Boyce, Charles Vernon Boyce. Look it up. So I don't know what these people are talking about. They don't know Newton's law, for one. They don't know that Newton distanced himself. He said plainly, do not ascribe this bunk to me. And you'd have to be out of your mind to even consider it. Did he say that, or did he not?
He did not say what you're saying he said. You're totally wrong on that. But what he did say was that he never assumed that gravity was magical. Like, he knew something had to be there in order to cause gravity to happen. He just didn't know what it was. And so that's what he's talking about. And the fact that you are misrepresenting him and not grasping like even what Newton is saying is rather telling. Let's see. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I mean, he just rambles on for a few more minutes about bullshit and whatnot, and there's no real value to it whatsoever. Thank you, heathens, for tuning in today. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you will, please leave a comment down below. Visit any and all of the links that I have in the description there, especially if you want one of these shirts. And I guess, we'll see you guys later. I'm going to be going through the Skeptic Mafia comments right now. So if you're watching this on the replay, it's going to end here in a second. But if you're live, then you're going to get the Skeptic Mafia comments. So we are going to be going into that, and I guess we will see everybody that's leaving later. I will. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.